Councilmember Edge.
Here.
Vice Mayor Moore.
Here.
Mayor Bob.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Public comment on items not on the agenda.
I have one speaker card from Wanda there.
Thank you. Hi, Vandegee Bear, 5 Donner Street. On October 12th, the Historical Society and the Lake Library Auxiliary are going to host a citywide open house at the Luck Park. And we're having a planning meeting tomorrow night here at City Hall at 6 o'clock. And we'd like to ask and invite a representative from all the organizations in town, the nonprofits, everybody you can think of, Little League, soccer, quilting club, even the cemetery district. People might want to know how many plots are left, or do you have to be a resident of the city to buy a plot? Things like that. Just people can set up a table, have flyers, have membership forms. It's just a community event, thinking of the past, present, and future, trying to showcase what the city has available for people and get new members to join whatever groups interest them. So again, the meeting is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. Roger's got a group together who's going to barbecue on that day, and we think it'll be a great event. So spread the word, please.
I want to know why you said even the cemetery.
Well, okay, especially the cemetery. Well, you might not think that the cemetery would want an open house, but people wonder, well, who can live there? Are they still accepting, new applications?
Okay.
So, you have any questions, or Jolene?
Brenda, you said the planning meeting was at 6 o'clock here tomorrow night?
Yes.
And that's open to anybody?
Open to
who wants to
anybody.
come and has questions?
Right. We hope different
And-
organizations will come.
And the fundraiser is being held at what time?
The fundraiser will be on October 12th. Probably the Historical Society will be open from 9 to 1, let's say, but barbecuing will not be during that whole period. And we want to raise funds for the landscaping and painting and improvement of the Luck Park. The library's going to be painted. The Luck Museum's going to be painted. The city has had to do the re-irrigation for Purple Bell water recycling, and so it's a big project. I know Roger has allocated money from the funds, but we've benefited from the city's help over the years, and we would like to, help do what we can do to raise a little bit of money.
So it's at lunch and barbecue?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to have a motion to move item 5A up to, right now, prior to presentation. So
I'll make a motion for 5A moving forward.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So if
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
Could we also consider postponing 5D? Do you think that might make sense with the heavy agenda we've got tonight? I'm just
I don't
curious
see why.
what the rest...
Oh,
You think we're
I don't
okay?
know.
Okay.
Okay. Matt?
Mr. Mayor, council members, so I was going to go through the staff report, but we've kind of gone over it a few times. Nothing's really changed, but since last meeting, the council had given staff direction to do some research to kind of see what consultants do charge for a general plan update, as well as the EIR. So I had kind of went out and reached out to a few different consultants. I reached out to 3 of them, and they're local, and basically for a general plan update that we're going to be doing, and with an EIR, they said generally it was in the ballpark of $200,000 to $550,000. And so just wanted to give you that ballpark because that was asked of staff last meeting, as well as council wanted to have the presentation by Cal Poly, and so we just went through the presentation, and any questions that were asked, it's good to kind of get that information, and so I'm going to move towards the recommendation or our staff's recommendation is enter into a contract with Cal Poly as the consultant for this general plan update. And staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution allocating funds to contractual services for general plan update, as well adopt resolution approving the contract with Cal Poly to provide services to update the general plan. If you have any questions.
What is the cost with Cal Poly?
It would be $36,000, and that fee wouldn't change. It was just a flat rate, and this is for the general plan update, and then it would be paid out over 4 installments, and it would kind of be kind of one initially to get them started, and then kind of, I think, every few months kind of evened out throughout the 9 months that they would be contracting with us. And then
Was there any cost estimate for the environmental impact?
we haven't researched that, but if that's something that you guys would like us to research, I know the professor had kind of mentioned, once we go through this general plan update and you guys can see this service that they provide and the quality of work, then it's something that staff would kind of be able to research then, but as well I can check and see now as well.
Well, it'd be, at some point, it appears that they're quite reasonable in their fees, and so, let's see.
May I make just a couple of comments before you get to
Yes, sir.
the resolutions? Oh, go ahead.
First I was just going to ask on page A1, the focus group meetings, how many meetings are we talking about? Is there a set number? Or does that depend on the need? Because it just says focus group meetings, and there is an S, so I assume more than one.
I know there's information in the scope of activities, but maybe the professor can come up and elaborate. Is that possible? Is that he's still here? Is it possible? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So it's essentially we have plural because even if we have one meeting, we have several tables, and each table is one group focus of people who might have similar or divergent ideas. But if it happens that certain stakeholders don't show up, then we need to go after them in addition to the formal one section that we have, and that is why we have it as plural.
So you're hoping for one big focus group
That's right.
over a weekend or whatever
Yes.
time frame, and then if necessary you'll have another?
Yeah. If necessary, we'll have follow up with individual groups, not with a general one again, but with those groups that didn't show up. So we make arrangements to meet with them also. Maybe a different venue, whatever is most convenient for them.
And you feel like you can get most of the stakeholders?
We try. It's part of we make every effort to include everybody as much as possible.
Advisory committee.
Okay, and document that we've done that.
But this is going to be city council or the.
Thank you. And the other question I had was on the
bring that up tonight, that those are things that
next page on A2, our city attorney pointed out that there's quite a bit of discussion under 8 and 10 on the draft general plan circulation element. And I can tell by your presentation that that's not the only element you're going to work on.
No.
But it kind of looks like it when you read it.
Yeah, it's a typo. I think 2 of the tasks have circulation elements which would have been deleted and were not deleted in there. So if you simply cross circulation element out, that's it.
Oh.
The 2 instances, yes. They are
In
not
both,
supposed.
that doesn't need to be there.
No, it doesn't need to be there.
Okay. Well, that clarifies it.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have any more.
Okay. George?
Just on the budget resolution, I just noticed, I'm sorry to catch it before, is it a I believe it's a transfer, isn't it, from the general fund to the budget account
No,
17601?
no,
Is that right?
it would be a transfer from the reserve funds
Okay,
to the budget number 17 in the amount of $36,000 under budget account number 601.
so why don't we get that thought in there?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that resolution should precede your resolution approving the agreement with the Cal Poly, and that would be the second resolution. So any action prior to a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving a contract with Cal Poly, it should be preceded by a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan amending the San Juan Bautista municipal budget for fiscal year 2013-2014.
And there was something else, George?
Just when you make the motion on accepting the contract, I think you've already touched on it, but the fact that you have received information on bids from private providers, that they are exceptionally high, that they would be a serious strain on the city budget, and that after hearing the presentation and receiving other information about Cal Poly, you're satisfied you're going to get a high-quality product from, general plan product from Cal Poly if you choose to go ahead with accepting the contract.
And that would be the necessary findings prior to you approving that resolution for the contract.
So it's part of the first resolution.
Second.
Second resolution.
Second resolution, you said that, just have what I said. I mean, you don't have to repeat it. It's in the minutes already.
Public comment? Open it. Public comment? Any cards?
I have no cards.
Okay. Close the public comment and bring it to council. And what is your pleasure?
Move to approve the resolution that increases the budget, transferring the $36,000 from reserves.
I'll put a second to that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the resolution number is?
2013-24.
24.
And then, okay, that resolution is passed. The next resolution is,
Did you vote on it?
Call for a motion.
Yeah.
You did vote?
We're
Okay.
quick.
We've done this before.
it went so fast, George, I even missed it.
Wake me up.
Okay. Resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving a contract with Cal Poly Corporation to provide services to update the general plan. And this is where I add in
With the necessary findings as outlined by the city attorney.
with necessary finding. Could I have a
Move to approve with the changes.
I'll second.
moved and seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Professor, thank you. Now you go to work.
Thank you.
All right.
God, why wouldn't every city do it?
Now that that's done,
That was 2013-25.
okay,
That goes back in there.
Got it.
lost it again.
Okay.
Okay, back to the regular agenda. Presentations, informational items, and reports. And somewhere here I have item 3A is Binational Health Week proclamation.
Hello, my name is Anelika, and I'm from the I'm a nutrition and health educator at the San Benito Health Foundation in Hollister, and I'm here to invite you. I set on your desk some invitations for the Binational Health Week, which is October 18th from 4 to 7, and it's going to be here in San Juan, and it's in the Windmill Plaza. And just to give you a little bit of background about the Binational. The Binational is the largest mobilization efforts in the Americas to improve the health and well-being of underserved populations in the United States and in Canada. And every October, many organizations throughout the country gather together and they put on health fairs to do free health screenings and immunizations and health education to the community. So.
Any questions? I'll read this proclamation, take a few minutes. Okay, proclamation, Binational Health Week. Whereas the Secretary of Health and Secretary of Foreign Relations of Mexico, the Secretary of Foreign Relations of El Salvador and Guatemala, the California Department of Health Services, the University of California, Health Initiative of Americas, and the United States-Mexico Border Health Commission have recognized the necessity of improving access to health care and public health information to the Latino community at the U.S.-Mexico border and throughout the state of California. And whereas beginning on October 2001, the Health Initiative of the Americas, an unprecedented effort overseen by a multi-agency task force, has conducted health promotion activities in 40 of the United States as well as in 27 Mexican states and 3 provinces in Canada, involving over 800 community-based organizations. And whereas Binational Health Week, access to health care and the health care reform in the U.S., infectious diseases, chronic diseases, and occupational health is a bilateral collaborative effort between HIA and the Mexican Secretary of Health and Foreign Affairs, with the active participation of state and local organizations. And whereas Binational Health Week provides an opportunity to highlight critical health issues in the Latino community within the city of San Juan Bautista and throughout the United States, and will serve as a basis for future bilateral efforts. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista proclaims that in honor of these efforts to improve public health for the Latino community, October 12th to 21st, 2013 is hereby declared Binational Health Week throughout the City of San Juan Bautista.
Thank you.
And by the way, you should let people know that they can get free flu shots if they make an appointment at the clinic.
Did we,
Thank you.
when the next board meeting is, did we come back with that yet?
I can get that for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Tell me like the day
moving
before.
on. Item 3B, Wayfinding presentation by Brenda Weatherly, Executive Director of the Hollister Downtown Association.
Roger still works down here, doesn't he?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The Hollister Downtown Association, as part of our downtown strategy plan in 2008, it was called out to have a wayfinding system in our downtown, but we would like to expand that to a county-wide program that's integrated. And I'm not sure if you all know what wayfinding is, so I have bits of a presentation that was given to us. Take off my glasses to read it. Wayfinding is the practice of orienting people within their environment while developing a predictable user experience. The primary objectives of wayfinding are to establish a sense of place within your community, orient vehicular and pedestrian traffic with a logical and intuitive system to enhance the best and most frequently used areas within your civic environment, and it also is important for economic development. It increases vehicular and pedestrian traffic in shopping and commercial districts, leading to business and vitality and greater tax revenues. Increases the use of existing infrastructure to enhance the visitor experience and attract new businesses and create awareness of opportunities. It increases the visitor experience by providing your visitors with a sense of place and an understanding for the area. Increases the likelihood of a return visit by more than 25%. Establishes a reason to explore the surrounding area and discover everything that the county has to offer. As far as marketing and branding, it creates a seamless experience for the user while still highlighting the individual characteristics of the cities and attractions within the county. promote a design and imagery that will enhance a visitor's experience. It makes it easier for them to find their way around and transform an underappreciated area into a feature of the community. So we have received a proposal from National Sign Plaza to do a first phase, which would involve, I think you all have this. Did you get this in your packets? Okay. The first phase, if not, I brought copies too. The first phase it includes research and field analysis, design, planning, and then staff and council presentations. And so they basically just figure out where all the signs need to go, what they need to say, how they direct people to and from things that are important, not just attractions, but city and county offices, libraries, museums, anything that we want people to know how to find. And we, as residents, think it's really easy, but if they come from out of the area, they have no idea where things are. And even I have an experience from living here a few years ago when I was walking down the street pushing my son in the stroller and on 3rd Street, and someone asked me how to find where we commission. Because the signage is, we know where it is, but if people are coming off the highway, they don't. It's really hard for them to find things. But because we know where it is, we just assume everybody knows where it is. So this kind of system is actually a very visitor-friendly tool to get people who are maybe driving by, maybe not even planning on stopping in San Juan, but when they see the missions just 2 miles off the road, and it's obvious that there's signage that's going to get them back onto the highway too, there's a system in place, they're more comfortable to leave the highway and go explore a little bit and not get lost. So I'm asking, the first phase is $22,500, and I built in a little bit of a management fee in there too for the Hollister Downtown Association. So the total project would be $24,750. And I was told that in other intergovernmental type projects that there's a process. COG suggested I use a 60-30-10 portion for the bill, and so the city of San Juan Bautista we're asking if the city of San Juan Bautista would pay 10% of that, which would be $2,475. The city of Hollister has already agreed to pay their 60%, and the county has already agreed to pay their 30%. And that would just be the first phase. And then after that, we would have a very well laid out plan of where the signs need to go, what they're going to look like, and then we go into phase 2 of figuring out how we're going to fund them, and if we're going to do it locally with existing resources through county and city public works, or if we need to go outside to go to bid for a sign program to actually get them made and installed. And that phase 2 we can go out to golf courses, restaurants, hotels that may also have signage that they would benefit from having their own signage as a part of this. So there may be a public part of this, or private. Any questions? My glasses on.
This is an action, not an action.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you say that the first phase would include design?
Yes.
So it's locations and design?
Right. It's creating the whole system.
Would they take into account the sign ordinances in the various jurisdictions?
Most definitely.
Okay.
And they've already been here and toured the area. They're very aware of the historic nature of your signage here. So I think there's a way to take that and work with that and encompass it in the other signage that may be along the highway that's directing people to the Pinnacles or to the Wine Trail or to Hollister Hills, Fremont's Peak. I mean, there's so many things that we can tell our visitors about that we don't.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Sure.
George.
Do you want to call up 5B just so you don't have a break in the action on this item? 5B is the same thing.
Oh, move it up to,
Yeah, good idea.
okay. Entertain a motion to move 5D up to present time.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll go to 5D.
B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, B. Roger?
Again, the city of San Juan Bautista, by its nature, is a tourist-oriented economy. And we draw over 1 million visitors a year from the public coming to visit our mission, our state park, and our ambience of the downtown early California history living, you know. So it's always good to advertise and bring visitors into it, and it's essential. We have last year embarked upon an effort to encourage the state of California to develop some green signs along the 101 that earmark San Juan Bautista, and get people from the Bay Area when they're commuting on the weekends and going down to the Monterey Peninsula to stop in and visit San Juan and enjoy our restaurants and stuff. And so anytime that we can encourage more tourism and more visitors, it brings in an economic prosperity to our city in terms of sales tax, and that's the benefit of an expenditure that is being requested by Brenda. It's certainly something that I always felt is that we have to encourage people to stop and enjoy what we have here, and it's a diamond in the rough in terms of enjoying early California history and enjoying our restaurants. And so the question now is, we did not accommodate this in our budget. We do not have the necessary funds, and it would have to come out of either emergency reserve funds or any capital improvement funds or appropriations that we have in our existing budget. We would defer that and then transfer it over into there. I mention that because in the council chambers here in your budget, under budget item number 10, we have $3,250, and in the planning we have $3,250, and that was to do some work on the lights and the acoustics of the air. That was $6,500. You could delay a portion of that for the $2,400 and $2,475, and say we are going to take a portion of that $6,500 in your market for signage, tourism, and promoting economic stimulation of our city. That is one option. The other option would take is transfer out of our reserve fund the necessary funds and appropriate it into a line item budget.
I was thinking we're early in the budget year, we could take the money now, and then if we get short later, we could do a transfer into that wherever we take it from.
Yes, yes. And I would say is prudent is to say defer the improvements in the amount of $2,475 on the lighting of the council chambers until later on in the fiscal year to see how it's going to go. And that would come out of budget number 10-801.
Any questions for Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm concerned because I'm looking at the costs they have listed for the actual signs. This is just for the design. And I think a wayfinding system is a wonderful idea. I just hesitate because of our budget situation. We would have to pay 10% of this, and then presumably 10% of the actual signs. And I'm not sure, would they be placing them on highways? Would they be placing them just in the city areas? I'm not sure what we get for that, and I'm not sure if the county and Hollister are going to pay for the bulk of it. Are we going to have signs that we really want with the little mission logo or whatever we normally have on our signs?
I would think we could do our own signs if we wanted. We might be able to find somebody, some kind of woodworker. Alex Zeller used to live here and did our street signs years ago. But anything we can do to get the tourists to stay here longer, they're going to spend more money. They're going to end up eating dinner here where they might have been planning to go on to Monterey. So I think for the cost and the fact that the other two entities in the county are already in favor of it, we can't lose.
Could
And I'm
we
sure
ask Brenda, could
we'd
you
have
step
control
forward
over
there?
our own signs.
After the completion of the study, we're not obligated to take any of their recommendations and put them into effect.
No.
It's strictly going to be data that we can use and then implement on our own schedule.
Well, they'll tell you where to put the signs
Yeah.
and what the signs should say.
Mhm.
And I was even going to suggest, I know Eagle Scouts have done some of your signs that are your street signs, right?
Mhm.
So once it's designed, there's no reason why that couldn't be an Eagle Scout project as well. I mean, I think you just, this is something that they do professionally. It's a science to wayfinding, and it's a specialty. So having someone come in that's all they do is wayfinding, that just gives you this tool to know where the sign should go, how far apart they should be, what the mileage should say. Is there walking? Do you want walking pedestrian information on it? You know, you may want to include a kiosk downtown somewhere that shows a map that has, you know, so people can find their way on a little map. You know, there's lots of components that they can suggest, and then you decide what parts of it you want to do.
So doing this doesn't necessarily lead us into a second contract for
That's
signage?
right.
Not at all.
Okay,
In fact, we're not anticipating that.
okay.
We're anticipating it doing as cost effectively as you possibly can, and also phasing it in. So there's, you know, here's phase one of the actual sign production. This is what we need to do to get this, you know, people off the highway. Here's the second phase. Here's the third phase. And you want it to be adaptable so that as things change and new things come, that you're easily able to add those things to the signs that have been produced without changing the whole sign and incurring that large expense again.
Okay.
So those are all things that they will take into consideration in the design and the system that they suggest for us.
Good.
Thank you. Any other questions for any public comment?
Yes, there's one from Wanda Rivera.
Hi, Wanda Guibert, 5 Donner Street. I wish this had come before Planning Commission because I think it would have been invaluable for us to provide input especially since we're working on the sign ordinance. But I don't think that was, you didn't mention that our downtown district is on the National Register, and it is eligible for one of the brown Caltrans signs that says Historic Downtown District, and we need to get one of those signs. It's been on my agenda, but I haven't gotten it done. I don't know, I'm sure it must cost money. Do you know?
We had our own made downtown, ones that are made for our downtown.
Oh, you're on the register though?
Yeah. Yeah. National Register of Historic Places for our downtown and for our historic homes district.
Okay.
So we made our own, the city of Hollister made our signs for us.
Yeah, I've noticed your signs. I like it. So we do need to make that happen somehow. I don't know how much the signs cost, but we need to note the downtown historic district. And I guess that's all I want to say. Thank you.
And can that be integrated into this study?
I'm just going to tell her how we had those made.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Oh, wait a minute. Any other?
I have no other speaker
Okay.
cards.
Bring it back to council level.
Vanda, if I might interrupt for just a second. I think it came before council because it's a budget item. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if and when we do put up the actual signs,
then
it would come before the planning commission,
Yes,
correct?
exactly.
Yeah, I figured it. We serve as an advisory board, we don't make financial decisions, but I thought
Right.
we might be able to advise you.
Thank you.
Okay, but thank you.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the council?
You know, just a personal comment. I'd like to divert money from the lighting and the PA system. This is more of a pressing issue rather than take it from a reserve, and we can live with the lighting for a year and just divert out of this lighting 10-801 and divert 2475 to the Wayward Foundation. That's just my personal.
It might pay for itself.
Yeah,
More
I think
signs?
I believe it will.
Sure.
Gets more revenue in.
Can I have a resolution of that effect?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we divert 2,475 from lighting 10-801.
800.
800, excuse me, to the Wayfinding countywide wayfinding system associated costs. That's my motion.
Why don't you move that as a resolution, and then they can prepare one after the fact.
Okay. I'll move that to a
It's a
resolution.
budget transfer.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
213-26.
Motion carried.
That's Resolution 2013-26.
Okay. Thank you.
Who seconded that?
Okay. Item C, monthly financial statements. Let's see Chuck here.
Do we know if he's coming or we can move him?
Had you guys heard anything from Chuck?
We're looking for Chuck.
No.
Okay.
He'll be a few minutes late. He said that he's coaching a football team, and so
wanna postpone another meeting?
we can continue that if you want. Yeah.
All right. Remind me to come back to it.
Okay. There's some questions I want to...
Item 3D, the library report. The only thing I can mention is I went to the library yesterday and I can't believe the boxes of books she's got in there. She got, Dee Dee managed to get a grant from the state and she spent it. So there's a lot of new books at the library if you want to go there. Okay. Item E, Fire Chief's report.
Good evening. I have a couple packets to hand out to you. First one is the report of our calls that we've had since the transition. And the second one is calls in the last 30 days. And then the last page is actually a dot map of all where the calls are, breakdown by district and station. So the first one is stapled sheet. You look at that, and this is strictly Station 4, the San Juan firehouse here.
Get one.
Has ran a total of 55 incidents or calls from that station since the 23rd of June. Okay, it gives you an address of where each one of those calls were, so you can see your breakdown of your responses. And in the last 30 days, which is from 8/1 to 9/1, it ran 20 calls in that period alone. And I have that separated just so you can see that last 30-day period. And then, like I said, on the third packet stapled, you'll see a map showing the whole county, and then I have District 4 broken out on the last page, and District HF1C, which is also an auto aid area for you guys. Okay. Other than that, any questions or anything that you additional want? Yes, go ahead.
Last I knew, I missed last month's meeting, but the last I knew, there was a, I guess you'd call it a delay in processing the San Juan volunteers or reserves as City of Hollister reserves. Has that been mitigated?
Well, the delay wasn't just San Juan. The delay was the whole consolidation of all the reserves. County as well was delayed. It was even Hollister reserves were being delayed because they stopped payroll. Yes, that is being resolved. I have the time cards over here for all the personnel to start filling out on a monthly basis, and then they'll get paid on a 30-day basis. They turn them in. It'll take 4 or 5 days from the process, and then the next payroll day when they cut checks, all the checks will be cut for the reserves.
So everybody's been processed now by
No, there's still
Hollister
people
HR?
that are in the midst of getting medical backgrounds and stuff like that. Each person is on their individual basis. I mean, if there's an extensive background check that needs to be done, it takes a little longer, or if there's some medical issues, they have to get rechecked, or missed their TB test being read, they got to go back, get it shot again, wait 3 days, and so everybody's in a different thing. But yes, everything's moving forward. Where I think we have approximately 12 to 15 of the transitional reserves already passing it, and then additional ones are coming through every day. I just got 4 more today.
Okay.
So it's up to the medical facility. So we are working on it. Human Resources is working on trying to get that system better refined. It's been tough trying to have 57 people also hit the front door of your Human Resource Department.
Okay.
Has that conflict with Aromas been resolved?
No. In simple words, no. We're working on trying to see if they are interested in working that auto aid agreement. We are more than open to any discussion with auto aid into the San Juan area, the San Juan influence around San Juan. They're more than welcome to. I mean, we're open to that discussion for auto aid agreement or mutual aid. It's not right now on the table.
Sure. But in the meantime, you're not going over the line.
No. We have it defined. We have it defined, and they don't want us into Aromas' area. We cannot respond into it.
Okay.
So it can be a life or death situation, and we aren't welcome to
It's
come on.
upon their request at this point. CAL FIRE will request us if they want us. Otherwise, we will not respond.
Yeah, the county and the city of San Juan and Hollister and the county have met, and we're going over the jurisdictional maps, and we're going to have a subsequent meeting, and then we'll probably respond to that.
There is a response being
mm-hmm.
formulated right now to Aromas board to try to resolve this issue.
I just don't want to see you getting in trouble. That's all.
No, I don't either.
So we're going to try to make it mutual aid like it is with
We're trying to make
Santa
it
Clara?
auto aid if we can.
Auto aid?
Mutual aid. There's a master mutual aid plan throughout the state of California.
Okay.
The departments that
Auto
requested
aid.
mutual aid, you need to respond to them. You know, that's something that's already. So that's not a problem. If they request us, we will roll.
Well, auto aid is when you
But
can
auto aid is
actually.
where we automatically roll. The closest engine rolls to assist that department until their engines can get on scene and take over on a medical call or the fire or the vehicle accident. And that's what we're trying to do, is get the closest engine to wherever the call is. If it's in Hollister or if it's in Aromas, we're trying to get the closest engine there.
Chief, you might want to express that we do have an auto aid agreement with CAL FIRE Santa Clara unit that we do respond.
Correct. We have an agreement that we're working on, just finishing up. It's going to be going to the board for South Santa Clara Fire District, which is the fire district north of the boundaries of San Benito County. We are working on that, and we've got it pretty well defined. And I've also got an auto aid agreement with Pinnacles National Park to respond to calls in the area down there in South County. So those are auto aid agreements that are being developed and worked on since the consolidation.
Anything else for the chief? Thank you, Chair.
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor. I just want to take this moment to make it real clear to any of the San Juan volunteers specifically, not the reserves, that we very much want to keep the San Juan volunteers as a unit. 200 years of history, is it?
135.
135. I'm sorry, I exaggerate, but it's a long history either way, and I hope the rest of the council would agree with me that we very much want to keep all of those volunteers on board, and would like to see them go through whatever process to make sure that we can keep that unit
That was the original agreement.
intact.
Okay.
And
Yes, but
we
they
haven't
haven't all
changed it.
signed up yet. I just
Well,
want to make
that's up
sure
to
that
them,
they
not
are
us.
aware
And
that we want
And
them.
that's reflected in your budget. You've appropriated the necessary funds for their stipends as well as their workman comp insurance.
And it's definitely needs to be a cohesive group. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we're working towards, everybody on this board, this council, and board, as well as Council Hollister. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item F, Sheriff's Report. I don't see anything in my packet. Guess we'll move along. Item G, Public Works Report.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just to kind of highlight our reclamation project is continuing and it's right on board. We had a trial run at the treatment plant and everything went accordingly. We're functioning. All we're doing is just kind of waiting for the state to approve the reclamation. I got an email this afternoon about 4 o'clock that the health department approved the thing and they're forwarding it to the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And so everything is in motion and it'll probably be approved in the next, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. We have our final report that's due October the 4th, and so it'll be right on board. The last phase is we're putting a valve cluster at the corner of 4th and Polk Street. We have all of the materials there and we have the pavement saw cut, and I think we're going to do it in-house with our maintenance crews, and that'll be put. Now the reason for that is we don't want to charge the whole line all the way down to the San Juan end, because then that water would sit there stagnant, and so we want to really shut it off at Polk, and that's the last place where we're going to be using it currently, to the Abbey Park, and that's the purpose of it. Yeah.
Good.
And then the well number 2 with the high nitrates, and I'll get that in our city manager report.
Okay. Geez. You let me skip over 2, 3 public comments. Any?
No, I have no card.
All right.
I stopped you if I did.
You're supposed to throw something at me.
Sorry.
All right. Item 3H, Code Enforcement Report. Matt?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just to give you a summary, over the last month we've had a few things pop up. Some are still the same. One being there was a dead tree that was located just right outside the building here. It was a large redwood tree that had kind of died naturally. Redwoods have the tendency, the number one killer of most redwoods is wind, and that's when they're alive. And so, for the city, it was a concern that this very tall redwood tree, was a nuisance and a hazard as well. So we had sent out a letter to the owner, and very quickly they took that dead redwood out. And so the city would like to thank them for their quick response, in removing that hazard off of the property. Moving on, complaints have still been heard about the stray cats over on 3rd and Church Street. The city has sent out kind of a final letter giving them 2 more weeks to comply and reduce the population to what the city allows, which is 3 cats, or 3 pets, 3 cats per owner. And so we're giving them 2 more weeks, and if that isn't handled, the city will step in and remove the cats from the property completely. And so we're looking to hear back from them or see that the problem has been taken care of. A few weeks ago, a pool was being constructed up on 7th Street without any permits. We went out there and were able to talk to the property owner, and they were kind of unsure that they needed permits because the contractor that was from the Bay Area came down and they do kind of above pool construction, I guess. And so what they were ended up doing was putting in a vinyl insert, which they were saying counts as an above ground pool. And so we kind of let them know that, if they're going to be doing any construction, digging, that kind of warrants a permit. And so they immediately, came in and got all the proper permits and things and fees paid immediately. And we had kind of gone out and done an inspection thus far, and things were looking good. And so that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any public comment? Okay. Item I, city planner report. Roger?
Well, I'll let Matt do that. He's pulled together a summary of the brewery, the general plan, and then the planning commission. Yeah.
So I think since last meeting, there were still pieces of the wood construction or wood structure remaining in the brewery building. That since then has been removed and the good pieces saved and kind of stockpiled there on site. Since then, Roger and I have been out there with the soils engineer, and so right now they're coming up with a plan to figure out what kind of soils are going to be best to do the infill, as well as kind of getting the rest of the site ready for more activities. There's going to be some kind of boring or drilling to check to see kind of compaction in the different areas that are going to have buildings kind of built upon that area. And so there's kind of a few things that the soils engineer are going to be getting back to us on, and we have, again, kind of been there along the way, make sure that everything's done the right way and correctly, as well as taking pictures kind of throughout, and then just kind of wanted to make the note that we've kind of found a few interesting pieces in the rubble. There's been some kind of old pieces of glass that Roger has kind of stored up in the we had saved in the office, and we probably could have brought them, and as well as some old locks and things kind of found, which are pretty neat, just to make note. And then, of course, with the general plan, I think, I'm excited that we've kind of have the opportunity to have Cal Poly, and, given they don't help that many communities, because, it's just one university, and, other universities don't really have this kind of hands-on approach. But I'm really excited to work with them, and I think the quality of work that we'll see kind of throughout this process will just make it that much better. And as well, for a small city like San Juan, doing this type of update and with the limited funds that are available, I think it's going to be a win-win, and I'm excited for the upcoming months.
And just as a follow-up there, we are soliciting representatives for our General Plan Advisory Committee. If you know anybody that's interested in it, we're taking their names and stuff, and then that will be appointed by the City Council, and they'll be working hand-in-hand with the consultant and the Planning Commission in formulating our general plan.
They'll be appointed by the Planning Commission?
No, by the City Council.
Oh, okay.
And the last item is Georgiana still here?
Yes, she's in the back row.
Georgiana, I see on here where you resigned from the Planning Commission.
Under the action item, I would plan to speak,
Well,
and I was going to say that I wish to withdraw my resignation.
Good. No, I asked you up here to tell you you're not getting off that easy, but I personally want to thank you for your services over the years on the Planning Commission, and I hope if and when you move back into town, you would consider going back to the Planning Commission.
Well, I will be withdrawing my resignation tonight.
She's withdrawing the resignation.
I'm withdrawing my resignation tonight, prematurely.
Save the
You
goodbyes.
mean you let me go through all that stuff?
Because I've been wondering what Tony Bach really thought about how I was.
She got you there.
You want to do that now? You want to pull up that? Do that?
We can.
Don't go.
Come back up.
Motion to move item 6F, was it? Or was it? 5F?
5F. All right.
I'll second.
Here somewhere.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
5F is accept resignation of Georgiana Collard from the Planning Commission. Would you like to come up here and explain yourself, young lady?
There it is.
I live in San Juan Bautista. I needed to discuss with a bank financing, and so I needed to declare legal residence out of town. I did that, and I'm finished discussing anything with the bank right now, so it's over.
She
And I
never
would like
relinquished,
to withdraw my resignation.
she never relinquished her residence in town.
Okay.
Despite what,
All right. And
So-
you're letting Robert off easy again.
there was never a break in residence.
Okay.
Unless he doesn't want to accept her non-resignation.
We're going to keep her right in
I
place.
talked to the city attorney, and he made me see the light.
Okay, and I think
Good.
I speak for the whole city council in that we accept your withdrawal of your resignation from the planning commission.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
City
Item
manager
J,
report.
city manager report.
Say something and
Just, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, this is a follow-up of the water system report on well number 2. As you recall, in the thing there, we are having high nitrate problems, and the public health has put us on notice that we're down to utilizing one well, well number 1, and that we have to come up with some sort of a contingency plan. And if well number 1 does take a hit and cannot provide us potable water, that we have to do something to alleviate the high nitrates in well number 2. I'm doing some investigations and seeing how we can modify and the process of blending number 1 well with number 2 wells to get the nitrates below the 45 MCL limits. We're also looking at exploring a reverse osmosis system or an ion exchange system at the headworks of well number 2 on a temporary basis to get it down below so we can get past this thing. Each year we find that in the months of August, September, and early October that nitrates elevate because we're drawing from a lower aquifer, and then when the rains come, then they reduce. And so we want to get over this hump so that we can provide potable water. If we can't, we will have to send out notices to particular schools and all residents that we have high nitrates into our water systems. It's kind of there, and I'll keep you posted with what the public health department is going to require us to do, as well as our options for the reverse osmosis ion exchange, or in the long range, I've discussed this with a few members of the council, is maybe taking a look at a future well north of town as a backup.
Question. I know the cost of a well depends on how deep they have to drill, but do you have any knowledge about how far we'd have to go down north of town to get into that aquifer out there?
We're exploring, they're currently drilling a well right next to True Leaf, and we're asking them to supply us water samples from that and analysis, and we'll find out what aquifer they're pumping from. They're down, I think, 1,700, 1,800 feet. Alpine, we contributed money into, they were at 1,650, I believe. So it depends on what aquifer they're in, and we'll have a better picture of that within the next couple of weeks.
What's it cost to go that deep, do you know?
Well, that's anybody's guess, it depends, but normally a well like that is going to run you $90,000 to $100,000. Yeah.
I've been afraid of this for years. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got all our eggs in one basket right now. If we could get another source, because all these 3 wells that we have are drawing from the same area, which is the San Juan Canyon.
So when we get those water samples back,
We'll have a better picture of how we can plan for a future well. But our emphasis right now is just to see if we can keep the nitrate levels below on well number 2 so that we can blend and then still meet potable water standards.
We were talking about a couple wells that were drilled on the north side that never hit.
Well, there's still quite a few wells out there, and they've all had good aquifers because that's where the underground water basin is. And so I think
It would probably bring up our water quality to where we may not need the softeners as much.
The only other thing is if Roger can find equipment to remove the nitrates at a reasonable cost.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
On the removal system, I see by the emails that there might be grants available. Do we need to give you direction or approval to go after whatever you need to do to get those grants?
We are exploring those options, and as soon as I get a little bit more definitive information on it, I'll be back to get authorization to file if we...
Because I was wondering, rather than have to have a special meeting just for that, if timing is important, if you'd like a direction from the council to go ahead and explore that, if that is...
Yeah, that would be the direction you give me, is explore grant options and financing options through regulatory agencies that we can pursue that.
Do you want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to do that, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we need to make a motion or just a
Or do we
direction.
just...
Direction.
Just
direction, yeah.
Okay.
On the well by True Leaf, they're in the aquifer now then, at 1,700 feet?
Yes.
And as far as you know, that most of the wells out there had to go that deep to get into that aquifer?
Not necessarily, no. There are other wells that are more shallower.
Interesting.
I think things have
That's a deep
changed a
well.
lot. Yeah, because our well out in Lucy Brown was only like 200 feet. I'm sure that's not there anymore.
Well, Lucy Brown might not be even the same aquifer, though.
No, I'm just saying how deep we went.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? And you don't have to send out a boil notice yet, right?
No.
Okay. Item 3K, public meetings and committee reports. Jolene?
Oh, boy.
Not too
I got
long.
lots.
Not too long.
Yeah. Caltrans, and Tony and Matt might want to add to this. The three of us all went to a meeting that Caltrans was holding after the 156 settlement with the Save the San Juan Valley. They plan no public meetings on any redesigns of 156 following the settlement. They did mention that the San Juan City Council can request that Caltrans come to one of our council meetings, and I think we should request that they come. There are no significant improvements to address safety or environmental concerns that citizens first brought up to Caltrans in the early stages of their planned construction. Bixby Crossing will be the only access farm workers have to enter or cross this superhighway. Let's see, what it's
Expressway.
Not a expressway. I call it a superhighway. Expressway. Between Union Road and Mission Vineyard Road. There will be no signals or roundabouts at Mission Vineyard or Bixby to make entering or crossing highway safer. Union Road has some widening and improvements at the intersection, but no flyover, no roundabout, no adjusting for getting people onto and off of Union Road more easily. No other redesign to ease congestion on or off Union Road. Proposed sound walls east of the San Juan entrance between Alameda and Mission Vineyard Road will be huge and ugly, in my opinion. Please attend the COG meeting this Thursday, September 19th at 2 p.m. I believe
3 p.m.
Caltrans, huh?
3 p.m.
3 p.m., excuse me. Bad information. 3 p.m. I believe Caltrans will be there.
They always are.
Okay, to hear Caltrans and let them hear you. They said that COG would be a appropriate place if somebody has any input for them. A focus group is being formed by Caltrans, which Mayor Bach volunteered to be on. So there will be focus groups, but not public meetings. And on AMBAG, Energy Watch continues to offer energy-efficient measures that can pay from 85% to 100% of the total cost of installation. In addition to municipal, hospitality, nonprofit, and special districts, this program also serves agricultural and residential customers. And mine was the only no vote on AMBAG's ambitious 2014 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy preferred scenario. And while I feel that AMBAG staff has worked hard to come up with this scenario, this preferred scenario, I feel they did not pay enough attention to the economic and environmental concerns of supporting the transportation projects that are approved. And the Water Resources meeting, since we're talking about high nitrates and water, Water Resources Association of San Benito County that I went to for Andy, still offers ultra low flow toilets, a water survey program for residents, large landscape customer audits, high efficiency washing machine and water softener replacement rebates, school education programs and conservation programs for commercial, industrial, and institutional accounts. Any of these that you participate in can help save water, and reduce your bill. September 28th, they are offering a smart gardening class. Remember, less lawn and less money, and less water wasted. And Tony, will you cover the neighborhood watch meeting we had last night? Good. I'm done then.
Thank you.
Where did you say the Thursday meeting is?
The COG meeting.
The COG meeting,
It's
I
at
didn't
the Board of
say where.
Supervisors building on 4th Street in Hollister.
Yeah, Tony's on COG, so he knows more than I do about it. Yeah, or Robert could do it too. Anyway.
Andy?
Fire was canceled due to Chief O'Connor being out of the area. Intergovernment, basically the county supervisors are floating an idea, maybe raising the sales tax in the county. And whether if they're going to do it, they're not sure what the amount would be, and would they put it on 2014 or wait to 2016? You know, or you get a bigger turnout.
They think they'll get a better response.
Better response with a presidential
on a presidential year.
But basically, that's it would be the high point of the intergovernment meeting, unless Robert has something further.
Hollister was kind of opposed to it because they have a set goal to reduce the measure E tax to bring that back down, and they gave a commitment of their sales tax bringing it back down. So they're trying to figure out some other way to get the county tax brought up without it affecting both cities.
There was no LAFCO meeting last month. There will be a LAFCO meeting this month, but it's going to be on Thursday of this week instead of Thursday of next week. And it's going to be more of a study session than anything else. And I think you've all been invited to go. Our new executive officer is very well known in LAFCO circles, and he's going to give us about a 1-hour presentation on what LAFCO is and what it does. And urge anybody that's interested in finding out more to go to that, because he's an excellent speaker.
And that's at 6 p.m. at the
6 p.m. at the Board of Supervisors
building, Board of Supervisors on 4th Street.
Spend the day there.
Yeah.
I'll be there representing the cemetery district. For some reason, I was in
Even the cemetery district.
All right. Anything else?
That's important because half of cemetery, or a third of the cemetery is in the county, and 2/3 is in the city.
Okay, let's see. As far as the water committee, Roger and I went down to Valencia. As it worked out, I was coming back from Los Angeles, and Roger drove down, and we talked to the people in Valencia's water company. Very, very helpful, very nice people. Showed us their pellet softening plant, and gave us a lot of numbers on it and how it ran, and that the people that received the water from that particular plant were pleased with it and everything. So what we're probably going to do, or what we're going to do later this month, is have another meeting of the water committee, Andy, Roger, and myself, crunch some numbers and come back to you on in the October City Council meeting, and at least give you an idea of what's going on and how much it's going to cost to run that plant. And, I mean, we found out a lot of things. Like, I was always concerned about the waste of the plant, and they indicated to us that what it is it's sand covered with calcium, and the ready mix people like it. It helps kick off their setup of their concrete, and believe it or not, chicken farmers like it. I always thought that was a joke, but it's a supplement for chicken feed. So anyhow, the thing about whatever the plant discharges, I was always kind of worried about it, and it turns out it's not toxic, and people are actually willing to not so much pay for it, but they'll come, like the deal they have down there in Valencia. The guy comes and picks it up, and there's no charge for shipping or anything like that. And so, you know, and so anyhow, we'll be back to you next month on that.
We won't advertise the chicken feed locally here.
Right. And and then
I'll tell Maggie.
The neighborhood watch meeting last night was very well attended. I was happy to see the number of people there. Sheriff Thompson made a presentation, kind of let us know what was going on, answered a lot of questions, and I would encourage everyone to, it's the third Monday of every month. It's here in the City Council chambers, and I'd encourage people to come in. One thing that the Sheriff told us is do not be concerned about calling 911. Call 911. And they may not have a deputy to respond within 2 minutes, but they will get somebody out here. And as everybody knows, they're stretched thin, but he has changed the staffing, I would call it, situation here in San Juan, so that we now hopefully have a deputy here every day, just maybe for an hour or 2 hours or whatever. We have so many hours per month that we're allocated of deputy time. And but again, the neighborhood watch, they keep emphasizing, just be aware of what's going on around you, and don't be concerned or don't be afraid to call 911 if you see a problem. And let's see. And one thing that the sheriff did say that made me feel good. We have law enforcement 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They may not be parked up on 3rd Street, but we do have protection, and everyone should be aware of that, that we're not out here, left out here all by ourselves, so.
Question.
Yes, sir.
If we have a deputy 1 to 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's 14 hours. We're
It's
paying
6
for 40.
hours. It's 6 hours.
6
a day.
hours. Okay, but we're
Yeah.
paying for 40, so how do we get
42
the other?
hours a week, 6
It's-
hours a day.
Yeah, they actually broke it down to 84
Oh, 6
hours.
hours a
Yeah.
day.
6 hours a day.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
broke it down to 84 hours bi-weekly. So I don't know if they're doing maybe 50 hours one week and 34 the
Yeah,
next.
it is
I think,
bi-weekly.
but it's
That's
on a
okay.
bi-weekly
Yeah.
average.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're getting,
But it's
I
not the
couldn't
same
remember
person? Is
the
that-
number of hours.
Tony
but-
just said one so that the bad guys will think there's nobody here, but there is. And it might be 2 3-hour shifts, it might be 3 2-hour shifts, it might be 1 6-hour shift. It depends on their staffing and all that. But they'll be rotating people in and out, and by the contract, we're going to get roughly 6 hours every single day of somebody here, plus the 24/7 hour coverage. Mr. Mayor, I just want to also say that for next month, I'm going to try to get a speaker from the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
I also talked to Darren Thompson afterwards about bringing on more reserves, and because a lot of people have been asking us, well, the fire department has reserves, why doesn't the sheriff's department bring in more reserves? Well, right now they have a hiring freeze, and that will be ending in August of 14. And when that hiring freeze ends and the economy's building back up and they're able to rehire more, he's going to be able to implement more reserves. So
Wow.
the
that'd be a
police
good program.
staffing would be building up after that point.
I need to go back to the water thing. Being as we're really down to one well right now, and we may have to institute water rationing at some point in time if this situation doesn't. I just, I should be aware of that. It's like basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cut off all watering at the cemetery until we get this recycled water, because we're using a lot of water up there, and people should really start thinking about that, us being down to basically one well, it's getting kind of scary. But we'll just keep track of it and see how it goes. Okay, moving along. Item 4, consent items. Anybody want to pull anything?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 4C.
I'm sorry?
4C. I'd like to talk to you about the route, and I think the event sponsor is in the audience, and he'd like to. Yeah.
Okay.
As a general rule of thumb, we approve the route coming out is we encourage them to get to San Jose Avenue by the community center and then route them up around First Street, so we avoid the Monterey 3rd Street intersection. The Monterey Street is there, and then when they go down First Street between Monterey and the city limits, we encourage them to route two-way pedestrian, the event coordinators, so that First Street is our main corridor coming in on the south end of the town. So we would encourage the route to start at 8 o'clock in the morning and proceed to 2nd and San Jose, come up on First Street, and then go out on First Street to the north city limits, and then come back in the same way.
Go up on San Jose instead of Monterey?
Go up San Jose to First Street and then out, and then, yeah. Rather than going down to Monterey, because it's blocked off Monterey, and so all those people coming in are going to have to take Church Street and then our 3rd Street and go down and then cut across and either come out at Awani or so. I think that's a better route, is to route them in. And I think we did that on the other routes, is we brought them in on First Street.
And it's the same time as that Luck Library. Yeah.
On Second?
On Second Street, yeah.
Okay. It kind of limits on one way, since we're kind of prohibited right now from Third Street to get down.
Well, in that section on between Mariposa and Polk Street, they're going to have to make accommodations to allow, in emergency situations, the fire trucks to exit and then get out to that. So the barricade on Polk Street has to be temporary, and then assigned somebody from their committee so that they can move that in case there is a fire and the fire trucks have to get out. I think the event. Do you understand what we're concerned about?
Yeah, which one's Polk Street?
Yeah.
Right here.
Polk Street is this. Our fire engine comes out on Second Street, and if it's all blocked off, and then there's a call, we have to have somebody manning the barricade there so that when that fire truck comes out, he can exit and then go down to Third Street.
Okay.
So
we'll have people at every barricade.
Everybody. Okay.
Every barricade. And you suggest Second, San Jose, and then First? That'll work.
Yeah, First, yeah.
Will you have a barricade at Third in Polk? To keep them up from running into the...
We're not even on Third. We're just Second. We're just in front of here.
Just where the barricades are shown, right there.
But you'll have a barricade here, but...
Nothing down there.
No, nothing down there.
Okay. People turning on to Polk going this way, kind of coming to a dead end. Is there any way we can divert them from coming up and
Or we
making
can have somebody stationed over there, and then we're going to have signs. We're going to put up signs that they're going to have a run that day, early in the morning. And the run will be like from 8 o'clock in the morning till be over by 11. Okay. A 5K and a 10K, and we're using the same streets for both of them. This is, I think, our third run in San Juan.
Yes.
And I think we change the route for you every time.
No,
We keep pushing you up.
But it'll work.
It'll work, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Move to approve agenda with, well, we didn't even approve the rest of the agenda yet, did we?
no.
Shall I move to approve it with the change, or handle it separately? Handle C separately?
You can approve it with the change.
Okay, I'll move to approve with the change.
Okay. Second.
I'll second it.
All approve? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Action items. Let's see. Where am I at here? I moved things.
Down to C.
C, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 5C, request by farmers market to include sound system and entertainment.
That's like right outside my door.
Yeah,
Where's
Farmers market.
Does that mean you can't vote?
Trish, you have a comment on
I
that?
don't want to vote.
Huh?
You know, the request for the farmer
I
market.
would really like to move it
Oh,
back.
yes.
Yeah.
Michelle let me know they were supposed to turn
How did
in
it ever get onto it?
I don't
Wait a
know.
minute, you guys. Wait a
No,
minute.
sorry,
This isn't a chat session.
sorry.
I was told that we were expecting a letter from the farmer's market person. I can't remember her first name, I'm sorry. And she did not submit anything, but she's going to delay any more farmer's market till this gets resolved, and it'll be brought up next month.
This was a result of them having a loud band. We moved the market, farmers market, from Washington Street up to Mariposa. They had a loud band, and they played it there, and it was disrupting some of the downtown merchants, as well as where Bob sleeps. And we told them, this is the theory of a farmer's market is to have produce, and that our emphasis was the majority of the booths had to be produce. There could be some other ones, but we were not going to allow bands. And so she wanted to appeal that, and she'll probably be back in front of you.
I was actually thinking that maybe we should request that we don't allow it anymore at all, because every time I go there, there's two booths. One's the pastries and one's produce.
Breads.
The bread.
I saw breads one time.
Yeah, the breads and
That's
pastries.
what she sells.
Yeah.
The gal that
And the
puts
other's
it on.
produce, and it's just not worth shutting
Well-
any street, not even Mariposa, for those two booths, and certainly not to have a ban.
Well, I think there's an important thing is that to make an event mature and develop, you have to start someplace. And I've seen farmer markets where they've started a handful of booths, and as it grows and it gets legs and it gets continuity, then more and more people join it. And so I'm sympathetic to say, let's give them a chance in the free market to do it and to see if it grows. If it doesn't, then we can say it's not working out. But at least give them that opportunity.
Okay, I'll move to table 5C to the next meeting.
But for now, we're not allowing the bans?
There is nothing. She just said
Okay.
she's not going to have anything, right?
Yeah, we made an administrative decision to say that the approval of the farmers market was without sound to music.
But she's got to come back and reapply next month.
What she told Michelle is she's not able to get enough people's attention to come to the farmer's market without the music or entertainment, and so she's not going to have one until she can appeal
Okay.
and talk to council,
So in the meantime, the farmer's market is canceled.
as what I understand, yes.
And if she wants to come back next month, fine. Okay?
You know, we went through this a couple of years ago with music, and there was chaos with the farmer's market, and we got complaints, so just FYI.
Okay. Item, or do I need a motion to move that, George? Table that?
Just don't take any action.
Yeah.
Okay,
No action taken.
all right.
Find yourself on the agenda next time.
Okay.
And before you go on to 5D, you got 3C, and Chuck has arrived.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members, City staff. Apologize I'm a bit late. We had to work late tonight, and I appreciate you tabling it until I got here. And I definitely wanted to be here for 5D, so I'll come back to that later on. Just want to give you a quick review of Treasurer's report for the month. Once again, everything looks pretty good. This year we're fortunate. The taxes, the tax revenue we received early in the year, so it makes the balances look pretty good right now. So we're overall, I just want to say the enterprise fund to date, we're at a profit of $48,000 as compared to this time as of last year, which is really good. When you look at the budget and you see how the money's allocated each month, and then you're looking to see how you spent that money, what I want to say is we're kind of like, this is what we're looking at, and everything is falling within the limits. Sometimes we get a bit of rise on something because the tax revenue didn't come in, or it came in early, so it's down a little bit lower. But I just want to tell you that just looking at the numbers, I think our city manager's doing a great job of managing the money. And it's falling within the parameters that you have set in your budget. So as of 2 months, I would say we're looking really good at this time. Okay? Thank you.
Just one question.
Sure.
Kind of going over the May rib cook-offs and stuff and some of the larger events.
Right.
Are we starting to see those spikes in the sales tax start to come in from those events?
The city manager will address that.
And we're going to approach that on 5D.
You're going to enjoy the
this
presentation.
is the treasurer's report. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? How many questions on the warrants? Go ahead.
August 14th, ACWA Health Benefits Authority, 4149.45. I thought we just made a payment to them a few months ago. Do we make payments every quarter, or what is the cost on this?
I think Trish could answer that. Is that this is probably a 2-month occurrence. isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's our regular per employee, and we added one employee, and it's kind of a delayed thing. One employee was charged, we got charged for 2 months.
So this
For the
is the
previous
actual payment for the insurance, it's not the payment for the
I
membership?
think that's what it is, because coincidentally, I know that the membership is about $4,000 as well.
Yeah, we
So I'm
had
trying
that
to-
a few months ago, huh?
How many
And that
days?
was for the year, right?
1, 2, 3, yes.
So this is just the insurance itself?
So 5 times 7 is about 3,500, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's just a
Oh, okay.
regular payment, which should probably,
And
I'm
you're
just
you're
about
correct.
ready
And-
to say it'll go down about 600, but we're adding Matt, and
Yeah,
we're
and
going to get hit again.
And you're correct is that to participate in the ACAA health group, we have to pay membership, and that's $4,200 a year as our basic membership.
And that's what we paid?
Yeah, that's what we
That
paid,
I'm
yes.
remembering. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Just a couple other comments. I just want to mention that our reserve is doing well. City manager's done a really good job of managing. It's actually been going up some, so it's a real positive, for our city that the reserves are increasing. It's not great, but it is. I would say it's increased 10 to 15%, accordingly to the budget. So I just want to say that's a really positive thing about our reserve money. The overall cash flow was positive to this year at date, which means we're definitely operating well in the black. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
on
no question. I'm sorry.
On the warrants, we had 2 rather large Bracewell payments this month.
Yeah,
8/22 and 8/1.
yeah, that's not for 1 month, that's 2 months. That was last month, and then, so the reason that he's been a little bit high, one was 14 and the other's 12,
Yeah.
is that the report that we've had to submit to the California Department of Public Health is part of the reclaim water, and they demanded that we modify that report, and so Bracewell has had to prepare and augment that report and get it through, and we just got approval this afternoon that everything was okay, and it'll be forwarded to the regional board. And so that high bill for Bracewell encompassed that work that they've done on the reclamation report. Mm-hmm.
So Bracewell is actually costing us roughly $12,000 every month, and it just happens to be 2.
The last 3 months, it's been right at $14,000 to $12,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it just happens to be 2 payments that were made in the
Yeah.
same month.
Mhm.
And then NorCal's the purple valve, right?
In NorCal was the purple valve, yes.
That's
That was
big.
the underground. The first one, the higher one, was the underground of the 3rd Street and the swing elbows. And then the second one on the 3rd page is the 10% retention that we kept from the contract for an extra 60 days, and then we released that.
Okay, and some of these other large payments are undoubtedly the firehouse. But McLean Electric, didn't we have a different electrician on the firehouse?
No, that is the sewer treatment plant.
McLean is the sewer. He's the
McLean
one
is-
that's
yeah.
one of a kind.
One
There
of a
aren't very
kind,
many
yes,
guys that
yes.
do his.
Mhm, yes.
Okay, so that was something out at the sewer treatment plant. And we
Yes.
had 2 bills from him.
A couple of these should have shown up last month, but they
Okay.
were late to be posted, and that's why
Okay.
you see them now in your warrants.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks very much. Yeah, because it is rather high this month, isn't it?
Right. It's just if you look at the dates, it just missed the
Yeah.
posting,
Yeah.
so you didn't see them last month.
And you'll
And then
see
plus
on
we're
the
building things.
and you'll see on the second page, about midway down there, a number of salaries, and those were the augmentations that we did on the fire reserves that couldn't be paid on that 2 to 3 weeks when we got in because of the HR misrepresentation at the city of Hollister. So we stepped in, made them whole, and then we will be reimbursed those costs in our quarterly installment for the
So you're
fire.
just keeping track of whatever
yes.
you paid them that was
It will
actually there.
roll over in our next quarter payment from
Good.
No, he charges by the hour.
Thank you both.
Okay.
Questions for Chuck?
Any other questions,
Phone
council?
calls from city
Okay.
manager,
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
city planner, council people.
Do they go out bi-weekly or?
Okay,
I don't know.
moving on.
I know it's strictly hourly.
Item 5D, consider proposal to contract with HDL and Associates to recover sales tax. And I understand this was through Chuck's Geyser. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of history on this. HDL was one of the companies that I talked to when you authorized for me to go up to that conference in Oklahoma and Oakland, and it was back in January, February, somewhere in that time. And I brought a binder back with a whole number of people I met, and that was one that's very interesting about this, the recovery of sales tax. So I'm going to put it to the city manager to give you some explanation, but it was, I think you got your money's worth. This is a really good group. Okay, and then I'll come back up. You want to share, Roger?
Yes. And basically, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in my staff report, Chuck and I, we've tracked our sales tax over the last couple of years in our budget. Then we went back and then examined the previous 5 or 6, and our sales tax has been relatively stagnant in terms of the growth potential. And so Chuck and I invited the representatives from HDL down, and the gal that came in and met with Chuck and I is a former city manager. She retired from Southern California and went to work for him. She's got a degree from UCLA in public financing and economics, very well versed in everything, and she demonstrated to us that there are definite potentials and avenues to track there. And what we were impressed with is that when we invited her there, she brought forth, and I gave you copies of it, a complement of material that was just overwhelming, because she had profiled City of San Juan, the amount of taxes that we're getting, and each vendor and each business and stuff like that. And she knew from looking at the graphs and the documentations that we're lagging in the growth of our sales tax. And so she made the presentation to us, and I thought it was an excellent presentation, that for $200 a month or $2,400 a year, she will provide this guidance, service, and auditing ability to track our sales tax. And then she will also do the auditing and advise us on who's paying how much and what we could do to increase the provisions to make sure that everybody records their sales tax. And she'll even provide us the assistance and go out and make sure that the letters are sent to them so that our sales tax is recorded to our jurisdiction. And we've seen it, and we profiled it in some of our street events, where a number of street events, and the vendors were not paying any sales tax. And I think these were highlights, and they were light bulbs that flashed to Chuck and I, and just says, wait a minute, we've got events going on, we've got businesses, but we're getting very meager sales tax. And so their proposal is a very affordable approval to get this thing going. But the lion's share of theirs is that it's an incentive for them to go out and track and recover sales tax. And they're going to keep 15% of that. The city of San Juan will keep 85% of it. And this is an incentive, because the more that they can track and say, hey, you should have been documented there, the more that they're going to get. And so there's an incentive in this arrangement to where they can be somewhat aggressive and really dig in and go after to track and see if we can get our fair share of the sales tax from the consumer's disposable income that's spent here. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to make some comments about it. First of all, the data is incredible. They could tell us every business in town. They could show us what their taxes, the sales tax paid in. They showed us graphical representations of how much our budget or how much our revenue comes from, say, sale of gasoline versus the sale of clothes, all the way down to the street fairs. Now, and to be fair to the people that been here on the street fairs, a lot of times these vendors come in and they think, well, they pay some sales tax, but sometimes it doesn't get routed to the right place. This is what this company does, because it can notify us and say, hey, we don't show any sales tax going to San Juan, and we can contact them, and they say, oh yeah, here it is. And a lot of times you find out it got routed to the wrong city agency. And see, we don't have that manpower to be able to determine those pieces, but they do. And like Roger said, their fee is, because we're a very small city, it's $200 a month. That's like 1.5 hours of our accountant. You know, it's not much money. And when they recover the money, like I said, we don't pay anything until the recovery of the money does come in. But I think what it does for us, it gives us a very powerful tool to let people know that we have this organization that's overseeing the sales tax revenue coming into the city. And like I said, they're not they show us a snapshot of what's going on. I think it's about monthly or so when it comes in. They deal with the BOE pretty extensively. I think they work with over 330 cities in the state of California. This is a big group.
Pretty good list.
I mean, we're one of the last ones to get on board because they have such an extensive database that they provide incredible data. And I think this is what we've been looking for. And I think it's a really good thing. And like I said, I think you would enjoy seeing the graphical representations, the pie charts of where the revenue is coming in. And I think as a city, it really helps our small city staff, to help them. And now we just get to the point of notifying some of our merchants or vendors or whoever we're working deal, say, hey, we don't show much here. Can you come by and visit with us and tell us what's going on? And they go, oh, I've been sending it to the county all the time, or whatever. We have to assume they have paid their fair share, but a lot of times it gets routed wrong. So I don't want to think that people out there that we're not getting money, they may be paying it, and I just want to be real clear with that. But we did notice some trends of certain vendors that have been here that we don't see any sales tax from. And so we have to give them the benefit of the doubt and say something may have been mixed up in the routing of the money. The cost, $200, and then they get a percentage of what they can that they can help find for us that hasn't been paid, and I think it's 15%, and that means we're getting a lion's share of 85% of the revenue that comes in. I think it's a win-win situation, and I think the city manager may comment on this. I don't think the contract it's very negotiable. If you wanted to try it for a certain amount of time, the city manager can tell you. But I can tell you that with 336 cities in California have been using it pretty extensively. I went down and talked to the finance director down at the Salinas city, and they're very happy with them. I mean, they have really appreciate the work they've done for them. So I think this could be a good thing. I was thinking about other things. Oh, here's a couple other pieces that I found out. In our street fairs, a lot of vendors have seller's permits to be there. We know this from the past, right? And a lot of times you have to give those permits. We can ask, and Roger's working, he's recreating the document when we have these street fairs that will what I want to call close the loops on these problems. But there's something called a sub-permit, and this is what's really exciting. The state has just come up with this. There's questionable about a lot of people, vendors that go from city to city, weekend to weekend. Are they getting their sales tax in? Well, what's really good about it now is we can require any vendor who comes here for a weekend, and they can do it online, by the way, get a sub-permit. And we can look at requesting to see copies of the sub-permit. Therefore, we know if a vendor comes in and they have to have a sub-permit, that means there's a record following that they've been here. And we know they've been here, so there should be some kind of sales revenue. And that's really a key piece that the state has brought in now, because these vendors pop around in different cities, and they have a seller's license, but they haven't had the sub-permits. And that's not going to hurt us any, because that can be written in to the documents that the city manager. But I see some significant revenue here for the city. And I would strongly encourage moving forward with this. Any questions?
Yeah, I gather from looking at the material that the company's source of information is Board of Equalization figures?
Yes.
Do they use any other figures to try to determine how much tax should have been paid by a particular business?
Well, yes. You know, they have a number of people who do analysis in their company. It's a big organization. And they look for trends. And they say, okay, if this is where you're at, they create these models that show how trends move. And it can project for us to know what might be coming. And that's the concern that the city manager and I had, was this stagnation of our sales tax. We're seeing more stuff, but we're not seeing the tax. So to answer your question, yeah, I think they create models for us to see. It's just not go get the BOE information and say, here it is. They analyze it. They look at what we're doing. They may even recommend to us that, hey, look, here's a pie chart of what you got. You might want to look at bringing in, and the city manager can decide this, bring it to you. Maybe we need to increase the part of the pie that's maybe like, say, like a hardware store. That would be something to bring in, because we really need to bring that piece of the pie a little bigger. Like right now, if you look at the pie, you know what the biggest piece in this city is? What would you think? What business?
The gas station?
The gas station. And remember how many years we didn't have the gas station?
Yeah.
And now I would say it's over a third. It's quite a piece, you know. So, and you get to see this. You see all the data. You can see the restaurant share. You can see all these pieces. And it can maybe help you in decision making on what you want to come to the community.
If we find a particular business or type of business that the trend says should be earning a certain income and the income isn't reflected, do we have any kind of...
That was part of the audit services that they provide. They go through the Department of Finance as well as the BOE and the alcohol beverage, and they look at trends, and then they'll say, gee, San Juan residents, the normal is X amount of dollars per consumer, and you're way down here. That's a red flag, and then they'll say something's wrong there. They'll pinpoint that for us, and then we'll explore what's happening in that particular consumer product.
Now, they're not an enforcement agency.
Mm-hmm.
All they are is to provide us with information. The enforcement comes back to you on what you want to do. They do offer some services, which is beyond what we have if we want to use those services. But then you start getting into, investigations and stuff like this that may get a little pricey. So we have to be real careful, about that. But we're coming in as a very small city. I can tell you Salinas is the thousands of dollars a month that they pay to be part of this, but they're a lot bigger than us. So it's all relative to the size of the city. Okay? Any other questions?
All these services, stuff, the Legion of Services that they have, is that under that fee, or is each service a fee?
All of those are under that fee.
They all fall under the umbrella of the fee. Miss Lucy, I can't think of her last name. I talked to her on the phone a couple days ago. She was in Chicago attending a funeral. I asked if you would like, anytime that I feel comfortable with this, but if the council, maybe down the road would like to have them come in and make a presentation, the issue that comes in with her is, you're such a small city. We have to. If you want to do this, we have to schedule down the road when our sales reps will be up here to come by and visit, because you have airfare and car rental and hotel expense, and you can see how that adds up. Mm-hmm. But I think Roger, you can say, I think this is a good deal. And I strongly encourage you to take this on and give it some time, because I see some real revenue. Okay.
You meant fuel was the biggest one business, because hotels and and restaurants is the biggest piece of the pie.
Right. When you look at,
but we only have one fuel station, and it's almost.
Well, we're fortunate because the sales tax is so high on hotels. that's another really big piece that we have, that's in the pie.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, was there any other, Roger, did you have something else that you wanted?
No.
So things like a business, say there was a business downtown that was under construction for 6 months, which there was, and those trends would show up as oddities the way that they're looking at it, but we would have to fill in the information that, oh, well, that place was closed down for 6 months because it
Well,
was...
the sales revenue will be
renovated.
zero because they're not open.
Yeah.
But
So it would look
Roger and
funny
I
to
saw
all-
is
because
we
they're just
saw
looking at
every
trends.
business listed.
Yeah.
And what every business, and even down to the street vendors, which kind of opened our eyes and said we need to find out where the revenue's going.
And that you would put on the promoter?
Oh, yes. We're
have all
drafting some guidelines for the street events. But I think Chuck highlighted one thing is I come down to the street events, and there's one guy that I've seen in Morgan Hill. I've seen him over in Los Banos, and he makes those signs. And man, he's all over. And he operates under one seller permit, and then he turns his data in. But that sub-seller permit should allocate the sales that he does here. But if we don't demand that, he goes back and then he just submits his seller permit to one thing, and it gets registered to where he lives, and that's in Madera.
Yeah, but when you fill out your...
Which is a lower tax rate.
Right.
When you fill out your sales tax form, you're supposed to say where you did shows, because
And that's true, but this sub-permit is the piece that we needed in place. And you can go online.
in case
If
people
someone
don't
says to
properly
you,
fill out their sales tax?
well, Roger can request that any person that's part of a show have a sub-permit. That would be part of the agreement before they come in, that they provide their... All we got to do is see they have it. Once they have it, then if they come to our town and then we get a report from HDL that there was no sales tax paid, we would contact them and say, you were here on this date, and we know you were here for most of the day. We just don't see the sales tax. Did you, by chance, forget to pay us or give it to another person?
Do they have to pay for these sub-permits?
Oh, do you do it online? I don't
No,
know.
but do they have to pay for them?
Oh, I'm sure there's some small fee.
Because then it's another cost of them doing business, and some places might not.
I don't know the cost, but I think it's really very low. But it's being required by the state because too many vendors are moving around and they're paying their tax to maybe one area and not to where they were at.
Well, when you fill out your sales tax, though, you're not supposed to do that. It says right there, were you in this area? Because different areas have different sales tax rates, and that's how you're supposed to do it.
I don't know how to answer the question.
Everybody's not as honest as you, Jolene.
I guess.
Anything else, ladies?
Okay.
If you want to continue it, the question is we didn't accommodate this in the budget, and so you'd have to appropriate it somewhere in the budget, like we did with the Wayfind, and defer something or take it out of reserves. And if you would like, you could continue this, and I would recommend that for $2,400, it's well worth it for a trial period for 1 year to really examine this.
Is that what the contract is for? Is for a year?
For 1 year. Mm-hmm.
I'd be willing to bet that we could get that money back and increase sales tax revenue.
Is there?
I was amazed at looking through it and what they pointed out.
Me too.
And again, that the 3225 that you deferred, and part of it was 2475 out of the council budget. That same 3250 is in the planning department budget, and we could defer that same, and then that gives you about still $1,800 in the lighting budget that you could do some improvements here.
We can get some candles.
We could get a spotlight for the mayor.
No, it bounces off my head as it is.
Use it as a solar panel.
Oh,
Said that.
Cruel. Oh, that. Okay, Lon, you're.
Well, I'd like
All right.
to vote that we approve this, but do we have any speaker cards or?
Right.
I have no speaker cards, but may I ask a question to Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
In order for this to just not be a flat-out $2,400 expense, you'd have to recover at least $2,400 in the 85% of new and recovered taxes. And then that's only a break even. So what kind of indication is there from the material you got that there would be substantially more than just breaking even and keeping these people employed in the services they provide? Is there some indication in the stuff she gave you that there would be substantial increase in the revenues that would cover this $2,400 plus bring in additional? And I note that it has a CPI built into the contract.
That would be for the second year, and what we were talking about is just a 1 year.
And other optional ones, they said their principal is $2.25 an hour with some optional things that they could impose upon 30 days notice.
I think we'd have to recover almost $3,000 just to break even. Is that about right?
Right. Roger and I was discussing it. We were looking at somewhere between $60,000 and $85,000 a year that we're going to increase.
Yeah, just through through three vendors that I had talked to at the rib cook-off, it's just astronomical amount of money.
Yeah.
Did you say 60 to 85?
I think we can come up with about. I'm talking about when we start putting everybody on notice, and the taxes are coming in right. I think we can increase between, I would say, about anywhere $35,000 to $65,000 a year.
And at our sales tax rate, and we're in perpetuity, we get to 1% of that.
Right. It's.
Oh, that's what.
Some of the larger
We wouldn't
vendors.
get that much. We would get 1% of that.
Right.
So we would only get
8,500.
6,000.
Minus the 3 would
We're
put us at
going to be
55
ahead.
positive.
We're going to be at, I think, a minimum of $4,000 over paying the $2,400. Wouldn't you agree, Roger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could, if you want, we could continue this, and we can, Chuck and I could crunch some numbers, and what it is in that first part of that report I gave you is there's the state trends, and we have to project what the state trends are and what normal consumers of other jurisdictions and why we're low, and then we can extrapolate that to say this is what we should be getting if we treat citizens of San Juan like the citizens of Gilroy or anything else. We can find that trend.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
What's the pleasure of the council?
I'd like to move that we enter into a contract with this company for their services.
Can I say one more thing before we go that far? Because the city attorney did have some relatively minor things that he thought that should be changed about the contract. And so maybe we should make sure that they're willing to make these changes if we also think they're important before we vote to do the contract. Did you get the email from him about the changes that he thought were important?
George?
Yeah, they're minor changes. I mean, the first two are simply requiring any request that result in the city having to spend more money for the contract to be on a written request from the city so that we have a paper trail. And just another one isn't a request for, or isn't a suggestion for any modification. The language is a reminder that the Revenue Tax Code does allow the Board of Equalization to collect, and I don't know what they are, costs for responding to requests for tax records, which we would be doing. And under the, these are very minor, this is kind of stuff you want in an agreement, though, it seems to me. Under licenses, permits, and fees and assessments, I would add to the end of one of the sentences that one of the licenses without limitation that you must get is a city business license, because they'll be doing business in town. Their insurance provision provides that the city is an additional insured under the comprehensive general liability policy. There is not a similar provision for the automobile. I would say the city ought to be an additional insured under that policy as well, and that's a no-cost item for anybody who gets that kind of insurance, so that shouldn't be a problem. This is an oversight in the agreement, I suppose. And that's it.
That one on license, permits, fees, and assessments, when I put it in there and then I reread the paragraph, and hey, does that say we have to pay for their city license? That's what it looks like. Well, but it is. I think it says the city shall absorb all fees, assessments, and taxes which are necessary for any permits required to be issued by city.
What page is that?
Page 10, license, permits, fees, and assessments. I mean, it's a minor cost, I'm sure, to the city, but...
The city shall assist contractor in obtaining such permits.
And city shall absorb all fees.
Necessary for any permits required to be issued by city. Well, if we're going to buy that permit, then we don't need to put in about business license, because we're doing a free business license. I'm not sure you want to do that.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that what it looks like?
Yeah.
So...
Leave it the way it is.
Oh, does that change it so that it says that? Because I thought it said that already. But
No, it just adds the specific requirement to get the city business license to the general description of
okay. So don't add it because we'd have to pay for it.
It's a $35
yeah.
permit.
I just got, Chuck, do they have a physical year when you sign up for this, or can you just sign up at any time and then that's when it starts?
No, it's open.
It's open. I know a lot of our street fairs are pretty much over for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something that maybe we want to start later as an idea?
Well, just a reminder that we're looking at trying to recover some money, and we can do it
So
now.
They
can
go back and
get
recover
it.
it. Yeah. That's
The,
part of that audit. Yeah.
Just a reminder, this contract that you see is pretty much a boilerplate. It's something that's been pretty much adopted through many, many cities. I mean, you can nitpick it, but when you got 330 cities on board, I think the contract, is pretty solid in terms of being fair.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion to...
I'll amend my motion to have these changes recommended by the city attorney made part of the contract. In other words, we wouldn't sign with them unless they were willing to make these changes.
I'll second it.
Second. Moved and seconded. Let's see. Resolution of the City Council to the City of San Juan Bautista approves an agreement for sales with Hinderlitter?
Yeah,
HDL, okay. For sales, use, and transaction tax audit and information services with the changes recommended by the city attorney.
Except the one concerning the business license.
I'm sorry?
Except the one concerning the business license.
Oh, okay. Do we have a second?
You did, Andy.
Yeah, Andy, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, now...
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I believe, and maybe the city attorney can correct me, but I thought this had to be similar to the other item that was done earlier, where there had to be a resolution to make a budget amendment to accommodate this additional $2,400 annual cost.
Well, if there has to be, maybe it's budgeted. Is it budgeted right now?
No, we don't have any budgeted. There is a budget in the planning department of $3,250 for lighting and acoustical in the council chambers, and we could make the same motion that we did with the Wayfind, is that we make a motion to approve the funding of $2,400 out of that account 17-800.
And make that the form of resolution as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to have
Would that
3
be pending
resolutions?
No, 2. It's going
I've
to
already
be-
got 2.
It will be identical to item
24.
4A. The adopt the resolution amending the budget, that's one resolution, and then adopt the resolution accepting the contract, and that's a second resolution.
And then we also have the resolution of the city.
We have another resolution authorizing examination of sales, use, and transaction tax records.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's actually 3. So we got Reso.
So
28 is the budget amendment. 29 is the contract with the HDL. And 30 would be the authorization.
Okay.
And Trish has tracked down the ordinance number, by the way. And that's all we really need for that authorization resolution.
let's see, I lost track here. Do I need a,
We're done, I think.
No, there's only one
Oh, we-
resolution.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Sorry, we have to do all.
So I need a
Move to approve the,
Budget amendment.
thank you.
budget amendment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, now, you need a motion to approve resolution number 2013-30, authorizing examination of sales, use, and transaction tax records.
I'll make a motion to.
Robert, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Item 5E, report by Community Hall Committee, council members Cosio and Moore.
You want to give the report or you want me to?
Start, did you?
Okay. Well, I think basically the recommendation of the committee is that we should probably have to deal with the nonprofits on an individual basis. I know that's a little more work for staff, but for example, we met with San Juan Service Club, Reed Isaacson, who does the Santa Claus at the community center on the, what is it, the last Friday before Christmas every year?
The bonfire.
For how many years? The bonfire and all that. You know, that's kind of a class by itself. And Michelle met with him with us, and she said they always leave it spotless. So, you know, he didn't seem to be an issue at all. We got one, or actually a couple of people said an accordion wall separation would really help, and then if there was any way possible to just heat the area by the fireplace for smaller groups, which actually even includes the Hoviness lunch thing. She said that she could deal with that smallest space, and if we can figure out a way to reduce heating the whole building, and it doesn't get the whole building as dirty either. If you know, we used to have an accordion wall in there, and I don't know what those cost or where we could get one, or if we could get the Hoviness to get a grant for one. I think she said that the original one came out of a grant from them. I don't know what happened to it when they did the renovation, but it's gone, as far as I know. And separating off that area for smaller groups might help with the problem. Another one, I think it was the Boy Scouts recommended posting the protocols for cleaning up so that everyone knows what to expect. Because Michelle may be meeting with one person, and it might be a different group of people who are actually doing the cleanup. And Michelle, I mentioned that to Michelle. She said, yeah, it's a good idea. We could post it, you know, somewhere behind the kitchen door or somewhere so they could actually look and see what's expected of them, just to give them a better idea. And then update and notify regular users when their cleaning deposit dips below, say 150, and request a check if it dips below 100, and disallow their use until the check is received on the regular users that may actually have to, you know, pay every time they use it to clean up the building because they're not getting it clean enough. So basically our recommendation is to deal with them on an individual basis because they're just not all the same and it's just too hard to lump them all together.
Yeah, I think what we came down to, we're down to basically one group on Thursdays using it every week, the senior luncheon. The Boy Scouts from Ken Weatherly, they use it one time a year for, when kids get promoted and have parents come. And then the judo or the
They moved. The Tai Chi moved.
Yeah, they're no longer there. And then the service club is one time a year for Santa. So it comes down to basically how we want to handle these nonprofits. My suggestion is case by case. If you have, for instance, an election or a community event, they go to the city manager. We're going to have a forum. Fine. You'll handle case by case. But what we're down to is basically one vendor, and that's on Thursdays. And we told Pauline that, hey, we're going to request, let's say, $200. But when our city crew goes over there at 2:30 or 2, and he has to spend a half hour, and your deposit dips below 150 or 125, whatever we set, then you need to bring it back up to 200. But I think we found it among ourselves. It's hard to charge nonprofits, and especially in our city. So basically, we're dealing with just one vendor. I call it a vendor, and it's just the pleasure of the council how they want to handle it.
I would recommend that you reverse that thing. It just says for the nonprofits, the fee is there. You will waive it, but you have to provide some service in lieu of that for the waiver. Like, for instance, the Boy Scouts. We will waive the fee, but you got to clean up the grounds. Another organization says, we'll waive that fee, but you got to hold a forum, a public forum, or something like that.
So set the fee, but allow the city manager to waive it?
To waive it if they can provide an offsetting service to the community.
I guess that would be you, Roger, because, for instance, let's say they had a forum for school board race. I mean, that would be something that we would want to give them, but they're not going to come in and provide a service. So I guess it goes back to case,
case by case.
Case by case.
That's why you'd be able to waive it.
But
yeah, for any reason, because they're providing a service or because they're doing a community event that we want them to hold. And one thing the Boy Scouts in particular said, charge us any deposit you want. Just allow us to get it back if we clean the place well. That was basically their thing. And several, except for Hoviness, they all said, we don't even turn on the heat. The Santa Claus, Reed Isaacson from the service club said, we don't want to cook Santa, we don't turn on the heat.
But on the other hand, when we examine the electrical and gas bills, we see that there's a substantial increase.
Hoviness turns that heat up. They got to keep all those people warm. And if we could separate off a smaller area.
I'm not sure why that is because we put a plastic lock thing on it, I was told. So it should be improved on that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where we control the heat.
Oh.
And set it. It's still in the winter months when they're setting up for the seniors thing. You're looking at 10 to 2 o'clock. Yeah. That's quite a few hours.
Well, that's why we like the idea, and Pauline did also of sectioning off that area because she says we don't need that big room. So it was interesting, and I was surprised how few people are still going to be using it. The Boy Scouts even, the Cubs, no, the Boy Scouts use it once. The Cub Scouts are now going over to the VFW.
Well, I think the other aspect is that
Quilters aren't using it anymore.
we want to we want to develop a program off the computers that we can get pictures and encourage the private sector of renting it, and that's
Yes.
that's going to be the benefit, is just to market it.
That's
Okay, well,
that's the big thing. We have to keep it in decent repair so that we can
Mhm.
rent it out more and make more money off of it, so that we can pay for to allow our nonprofits to use it.
well, now that you've got it narrowed down to one that you have to negotiate with, go negotiate.
Yeah, if it's all right with the council, I think what we want to do is just have a deposit, and once it tilts below a certain amount with that one group, that they need to bring it back up to that $200 amount.
Well, we could also set a fee and then just allow the city manager to waive it if that makes it
Oh,
easier
whatever.
for him to negotiate.
That's fine, whatever. We're down, like the mayor says, we're down to basically one group.
Unless others come in to use
Yeah,
it. That's why it might be nice to have a fee that could be waived or not waived, depending on if somebody comes in. Because not every group that wants to use it is as useful to the community as feeding seniors.
Just leave that as a TBD. And right now you only have one group. Right.
One group that uses it on a regular basis.
Right.
Everyone else is one-time
All right.
use currently,
All right.
unless they get more people.
So you guys are going to work it out with Pauline?
We're done. I don't know how we're going to work. We talked with her. We met with each one of these people.
She understands what's happening with her cleaning deposit?
She understands what's happening
And
with
she-
her cleaning deposit.
She's agreeable to building it back up if it's used. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. We said we were going to set it up where it's going to be $200, and Terry, it'll take staff time, but we'll go there and check it on Thursday afternoon, and if he feels everything's copacetic, we're good. But if he has to spend a half hour the following day, and that budget goes below, Michelle's going to have to keep track of it, but goes below, let's say 150 or 125, you need to bring it back up to 200, and you're good to go. But if it drops below, and I'll let Roger can pick that number, we're good. Just going to take staff time to do a walkthrough on Thursdays.
All right.
And that's the end of it.
We were kind of stuck with negotiating with her on the fee for utilities and that sort of thing, because she said, well, if you're making my cleaning deposit go down and I have to pay a utility fee, then I can't do it. So she didn't feel like they could afford to do both.
Okay.
Because she understands they're going to lose some of that cleaning deposit, if not all of it. She thinks they're keeping it clean, but they're not.
Okay, moving on. Do we need to do anything to allow Roger to, at his discretion, as far as the fees go?
Well, we can either set the $25 fee that they requested that we do last month and a deposit. I mean, that's what it all came out of, was that it was recommended that we start charging $25 to
Well, then
nonprofits.
it's pretty obvious you lost everybody but one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we lost all of them if we do the $25 fee, but what if we make it so Roger can waive
You just
it?
said they weren't using it anymore.
Roger's got to put it he'll come back with put it in a fee schedule, he'll adopt a resolution, but you got to tell him exactly what it is that you're recommending.
Okay.
The $200 situation is already in effect. That was in a letter originally that as they used it, Public Works had to come in and do any cleanup, it would come down. So that's already in effect. And if we're not...
That they have to replenish it
Yes,
before
that's
it gets
already-
to bottom?
That's been in effect. Yeah, I had to put a letter out. I think there was a misunderstanding about that system that was already in place.
Was that only sent to one user?
Unfortunately, it was in place, but Michelle was not billing them for things at use. So, I mean, it's already in place.
I guess what I'm going to ask Trish, that's fine, but I want it to get to a certain level, $100, and boom, you're cut off until you
Okay.
bring it back up.
And
I don't
setting
want
the
to get
level
it.
would be different, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to get it to zero.
Okay.
So let me just make a suggestion to the mayor. Why did Council Member Cozy and I get to go with the city manager between now and the next meeting, and then bring back something in writing?
I so ordain that.
That's the word.
There you go. Then we can get you on. Sounds good.
Thank you. All right. And I want to move along because I think I'm getting sunburned from these lights. Okay, item F is taken care of. Comments, City Council, Jolene?
Conserve water.
Okay.
And I was going to announce that October 12th fundraiser, but it was already announced at the beginning of the
So
meeting.
you don't have to do it again. Andy?
I'm good. I have none.
Rick? Robert?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, and I think I got all my comments in over the course of the meeting. Roger? Comments? Matt? George? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
8:30, 8:20.